Cult members, and welcome to Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
And this is going to be very interesting. For those of you who have been following along at home, we've been having technical issues with our headphones and microphones specifically. And so this may work, this may not work. If it starts getting scratchy in the middle, we apologize ahead of time. I will then be taken to the back 40 and beaten profusely over the head and shoulders with said microphones.
Who's going to do the beating?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
We'll find somebody.
All right.
This is the big show. This is our big, we have a topic and we talk about it. We have some news and notes. And we this week we have a special review of the Lost episode from last week.
Right. A recap.
A recap of some of the stories that we were still kind of working on. We ended up doing a 30-minute thing about Phoenix Fan Fusion, which was really cool, but there was a bunch of news and notes that we didn't get to, and so we're going to add that in today, at least a couple of them. The first one we're going to talk about is something that's a week and a half old, 2 weeks now. I don't care. I still want to talk about it. Falcon Winter Soldier series has got a showrunner. It's Carrie Scoglin. She is going to be directing it's a 6-part series about Falcon and Winter Soldier and Falcon figuring out how to be Captain America.
Right, with the help of his best buddy,
Yeah.
Winter Soldier.
I saw something today that the rumored name of the series is Tag Team. God, I hope they don't go with that.
Oh, no.
It's
no.
so bad. But the other thing that came out was we are getting Daniel Brohl and Emily Von Camp, who are going to be reprising their roles as both Baron Von Zemo and Sharon Carter, a.k.a. Agent 13.
Right.
So I thought that was really kind of interesting to bring Baron Zemo. A lot of people didn't like that he was underutilized in Winter Soldier. I thought he was okay. I don't have an emotional connection to the comic.
Right, other than we like Daniel Brohl, so more Daniel Brohl is always a good thing.
Right,
but,
right. I'm totally okay with that. And we were talking about it last week in the Lost episode, that the Agent 13, Sharon Carter, will be the connective, their like kind of person to go to within S.H.I.E.L.D. and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a cool.
Yep, she'll be their Coulson, I guess.
Yeah. Not Director Coulson. That's someone different. And not Coulson in this season because there's some poo going on. The time travel and stuff, I guess. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this series, and we've gotten more information on this one than we've gotten the Loki series, and so I'm really interested in what they're going to do with the Loki series because he's got the Tesseract and he's in a separate time stream.
Yeah, so they can
like
do whatever they want. And does this drop day one?
If I remember correctly from the story, it airs. Okay, it's in here. Mini series will drop August of 2020. So
okay.
It'll be maybe the third wave of stuff that they drop on Disney Plus.
Right,
we're buying it. So
right, right. Take our money.
We did do a John Wick Parabellum review during last week's show. But we're just going to do a quick little, just go see it. It's awesome.
Yep. Picks up right where the last one left off. Dogs doing things you didn't know you needed to see, but now you know you need to see.
Awesome gung fu. There's an amazing Enter the Dragon kind of fight at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And which kind of mirrors pun
intended.
The last John Wick movie, but it's the best. I won't say it's the best of the three, but it's on par with the other two.
Yeah,
and making it for a complete series. And then they announced the Monday after or Tuesday after that Chapter 4 officially drops May 21st, 2021.
Right.
So.
Right, and I don't know. They're getting close to having to be at the end because Keanu's starting to get a little too old to keep doing that stuff. The rumor
currently is Keanu is in talks to join the Eternals, the new Phase 4 Marvel
Right.
stuff with Angelina Jolie and Richard Madden, and that was the whole conversation about Keanu Reeves being
an A-lister.
A-lister.
We decided that you need either a B plus or an A minus because
Right.
he's not a B, but he's not an A. He's like an
He's Keanu Reeves.
he's
his
a
own
B
guy.
plus A minus.
He's his own guy. We did a ton of poo over the weekend. We did trailer reactions from. Actually, we did a couple of things last week too, but I'm just going to say we did it all on the weekend because it makes it sound better. Last week, leading up until last night, we did trailer reactions for the video game called Death Stranding. We got a series from trailer for Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance, which is a prequel to the movie. We get the 5th Rambo movie called Rambo Last Blood, and we got a trailer for Ford versus Ferrari. We did trailer reactions for all of that stuff. They're all up on the channel.
On the YouTubes.
On the YouTubes of channelness. I'm listening to the Go Like Hell book that is about Ford versus Ferrari and everything that's going on around that. That has quickly become my most anticipated movie of the fall.
Oh. Ooh, and there's a lot of stuff coming out in the fall, so.
Christmas is different.
No,
That's
but we went and saw, not Godzilla, Rocket Man, and saw there were 50 freaking trailers, and they started at like August and went through October.
Yeah.
I was like, is nothing coming out in the summer?
No, Hobbs and Shaw and
Spider-Man.
Far From Home,
Yeah.
and there's stuff coming out. Like,
yeah, but they showed no trailers from
Yeah.
anything before August.
they
Was
did
weird.
for Godzilla though, because we got Men in Black and
Yeah.
we didn't get. I'm surprised we didn't get a Far From Home trailer for that one, but we got Hobbs and Shaw,
Yeah.
which is my end of summer most anticipated movie because Hobbs and Shaw kicking people's ass. I mean, and crazy. Anyways, we did 3 reviews this weekend too. We did Rocket Man on Thursday night. We did Godzilla King of Monsters Friday night, and then we did Good Omens on Sunday morning. Good Omens is spoilers, really freaking good.
If you are on social media, I think you're aware that
Yeah.
everybody seems to like it. Now it's your turn.
Okay, I think it was just one. All right. We also did some stuff for our Patreon. We started a new segment on our Patreon. It's called 60-Second Quotey Fingers Review. And hi.
This was me about a half an hour ago,
Some
sneezing my
high-class
head off.
professionalism. I don't have a cough button, so and my sneezes are not little either. But we started uploading those. We'll be doing one of those a week only for our patrons to start, and then we also did our monthly poll movie, which was Soylent Green.
His people.
That will be uploading. The review of that will be uploading on Wednesday. So you can help us out on Patreon for $1 level. We're working towards a goal. I will tell you what the goal is because we're going to start primping the crap out of this.
All right.
When we get to 25 patrons, the number 25, Janice, Josh, and myself will sit down and drink our alcoholic drinks of preference and watch the Star Wars Christmas special.
Oh God. Do we get a vote? Did you and Josh vote and I got left out?
Actually, I voted for all of us because I bought it on DVD at FanFest.
You did.
So
You did.
It has to. There may have to be pre-gaming for that one, so we're in full throat by the time we get into it. So please sign up if you want to see us drunkenly watch a terrible Star Wars movie. That's not Last Jedi. That's internet talking, not me. Then please sign up for our Patreon. Like I said, $1 level, and then we can get into it.
We have $1, $2.50, and $5.
$5.
And if you're $5, you get all kinds of benefits.
Yes.
You get swag, and you get to make us watch a movie of your choice. And
Not delicatessen again. Not even going to stop worrying about that. I'm going to do this second story first. It came out today that THR was reporting that Joe and Anthony Russo, who currently can do anything the fuck they want,
True.
are going to help produce and executive produce a show for Magic the Gathering card game, and it's going to be an animated series for Netflix.
Right. I have questions.
I have questions too, but I watched the Nerdist thing when you're outside, and Nerdist did a video on this today, and I'll try to post it later. But they talked about how there's actually some good stuff going on here because it's people from Rebels who are coming in and helping do some of the show
anime
running and stuff like that, and people who ran The Tick and Agent Carter, and those shows were amazing. Short run because nobody watched them, but they were really well done.
The Tick is still on. It's on Amazon.
They canceled it. This is it. Whatever the season is, they're done.
Oh, okay.
And they're trying to save it, but I guess they're not getting it, whatever. They're getting their looks or whatever. And they're also saying that it's going to be kind of somewhat in the animation style of the Castlevania Voltron stuff that's on Netflix, which is really cool, like Americanized anime,
right?
Which is really Which is really cool, but
kind of the '80s animation style.
Yeah.
I just don't know how they're gonna make how do you film, how do you write for a role-playing game without it just being dumb? I mean, how
I don't know. I know of the game. I never got deep into the game or whatever. Our kids had freaking cards all over the house.
Yeah, we used to.
Time.
I mean, we used to play, and but it's like a role-playing, like a computer role-playing game, except you use cards, or like D&D, but you use cards instead of the dice, or you're leveling up to get powers or whatever in a computer game. But so I don't know.
If it's an 8 or 10 episode where you're like the good guys and the bad guys are fighting it out through the series, and they're powering up as they get along.
If they did just the characters off the cards and not
cool.
how they got there, and you have to have mana to life, and that could all just get really. They're fighting and their life bar is going down. I mean, I don't know.
Straight out Scott Pilgrim with the P bar. But if they were gonna do this live action, I'd be super concerned. Because the idea of them doing it in animation form, you can kind of get away with more of the fantastical stuff in animation. And I can say with some some. I won't say knowledge. I've watched a little bit of anime in my life, but I've also watched some of the attempts at live action. They did Full Metal Alchemist, and they did it live action, and it just doesn't translate.
Right.
The super fantastic fantasy elements that they do in Full Metal Alchemist on the anime just doesn't translate to real life, and so. I'm kind of glad that they're taking an animation version of this, and I'm also really cool with the idea of them trying something pretty obscure. I won't say obscure. Well, it's obscure for a lot of people. They say 35 million people play Magic, but it's not. There's enough people who watch it who would watch it to make it worth it. But I don't know if it's one of those things like everybody's looking for the next Game of Thrones fantasy thing, and so I don't know if this is Netflix attempt at doing that. But you're doing it in animation. I
don't know. I think this is just more of Netflix throwing everything against the wall and seeing what sticks.
They talked about how Netflix has an opportunity for a niche. Now that Disney Plus is coming, and they're going to be much more of the family-oriented stuff, that you could probably on Netflix continue to really push the envelope with the non-family stuff.
Yeah, edgier stuff.
Edgier stuff, and so that would lean into the Magic the Gathering kind of.
Maybe
I'd be way more interested in watching it if it was way more edgy, but. a lot of kids play the game, and so you want to have that.
Yeah, I don't know if kids still play. I mean, like our kids still sort of play, but they're not kids. They're kids with kids. So,
Right.
yeah, I don't know.
In a completely on topic but out of left field story that came out today, Quentin Tarantino, yes, that Quentin Tarantino, who's got a movie coming out this summer, which is also my most anticipated movie this summer. I have like 70 movies I want to see this summer. Quentin Tarantino is working with Gerard Carmichael on a Django Zorro movie. Now, before everybody gets like all like, oh my god,
This is the worst idea ever.
they actually wrote a comic for this. It was written by Quentin and released by Dynamite Entertainment and DC Comics. Dynamite's like their independent, let's try something crazy that's not Batman or Superman comic line. And it was written with the idea of a sequel to Django. And the story goes in the comic that Django had a price on his head, and so he decided to move west. He settled his wife in Chicago, and now he has this newfound skill set, and so he goes to the Wild West to get employed, and he would send money back home to Chicago. And on his travels, he comes across what is Zorro's real name? Diego de la Vega. And they get a friendship going, and Zorro hires Django to be his bodyguard, and they frolic off into killing fields of the West.
Right.
And silliness begins. So
Is this a cartoon?
this is a comic. The comic is what they're working on is a movie, a live action movie.
Okay, it's live action.
Is what I'm trying to
Okay.
say. Before we get into more of the details, do you think this is? I'm only really super interested if Jamie Foxx comes back as Django.
Sure. And Antonio Banderas is Zorro.
If they're gonna do the older Zorro, I would be okay with that.
Yeah.
That, like, you know, that.
How about Pedro Pascal?
Pedro Pascal would be interesting.
Zorro.
Oh, see, he's really busy, but I would be okay with that, actually.
Yeah. So
now I want to see the two of them, Jamie Foxx and Pedro Pascal, in a movie together. I could be a
is
heist
this
movie.
Just a movie, like a movie theater movie? Netflix?
From what
Amazon?
Jeff Snyder from Collider was the one who had the scoop for it or
Wrote the
whatever.
story, yeah.
And from what it looks like, it's only in the early discussion period, so it could be one of those where Quentin helps write it with Gerard Carmichael. They get a third party to direct it, and they both executive produce it, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then it ends up on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something like that. Because the running joke in our house has been, you know, we get only one more movie after Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with Quentin, and I don't think this is going to be his quote unquote swan song, and it's not going to be the Star Trek one either.
Right. Because he's just helping write it?
He has, for the Star Trek one, he had a story outline set. And then they went to the writer's room, and he sat down with the writer's room and said, "This is my idea now."
And
go.
they're
And
going to flesh it out. Yeah.
And then there was still talks about Quentin directing that one, and possibly just producing it.
Yeah.
Producing credit.
Yeah.
But this one, there's really no we're at step, minus 1A in the process.
Right.
There's a pre-existing story arc here, which could be very, very interesting. But there's a big translation step from comic to a full-on script.
Yeah.
But if they do this right, it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they've already got Django. Django was a movie, so it's not like they don't have an idea, a platform
Right.
to draw from. So they can use some of the ideas out of the comics and kind of carry on the feel of
Right.
Django
And before, a lot of people were like, they would have never met. Okay, it's the fantastical world, whatever. Fantastical is my new favorite word apparently on this show. New drinking game. Every time I say fantastical, I'll take a drink. But the idea of Zorro and Django meeting actually makes a whole lot of sense. Like, it would
Well, why not? I mean, if he goes west,
to California or Arizona or Old Mexico or that kind of whole time period in the 1860s.
Django happened before the Civil War, right?
Right.
So Arizona was for the South in the Civil War.
Right.
So Arizona's not good, but California.
That's where a lot
in
of the Zorro storyline
right
takes
in
place,
Southern
so.
California,
Yeah.
and so the California thing would work in the
would-
gold rush.
Yeah.
Going to the
Yeah. Django's looking for a bounty and he ends up in, Zorro's town. And,
yeah.
And Zorro ends up killing him and they have a drink together. And
And the end.
I'm writing it right now. We're going to take a break. And then we're going to come back and we're going to have a discussion that was a suggestion from one of our patrons. And that is, with all the musical biopics that are going on right now, what do we want to see next? And we've talked about it a little bit today, but if you want to, there's a biopic that's not necessarily music band based or whatever, you can pick that too. But the three I picked were all music based.
Okay. I don't know that I have three, but we'll see.
I had two like automatic, and then one like later on the day. It was like, dunk. No,
Okay.
So
All right.
we're gonna take a break, and then we're gonna come back, and we're gonna have a conversation on what musical biopic we want to see next. So we'll be right back. Hello, cult members. Like what you've heard on this podcast? Then please subscribe and follow us here. You can also find us on Facebook at the Pop Culture Cult. We're on Instagram at PopCultureCult1, and we're on Twitter at Pop_Cult1. We're also on YouTube at PopCultureCult and on the Stardust app under PopCultureCult. Please help us by liking, following, and subscribing to everything we have. This helps us build a bigger and better cult of pop culture. And we're back.
Let's all go to the lobby.
If you've been watching our trailer reactions lately, I've been doing this clasping of my hands and rubbing them like an evil genius. I'm going to tell you how bad this trailer is, or how good it is. And I'm trying to do like jazz hands and stuff, so I don't do it again and stuff. We want to get into this week's main topic, and this was actually an idea that was sent to us by one of our patrons, Cassandra. I was actually messaging her back and forth today, and we were struggling to come up with a topic for this week. And I'm like, what do you're a patron, what do you want to hear us talk about? She sent us a whole bunch of different ideas, and then she sent me this idea about with all the musical biopics that are out right now, and there seems to be a trend of those right now. What ones do you want to see and stuff? And so I was like, yeah, that's kind of a cool idea. And I sent it to this one, and you seemed to like the idea.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking, I was trying to come up with stuff, and that was one of the things that I was thinking of, just trying to figure out how to, like I don't know. I was around it. I didn't get there.
Right. You did say something about monster movies, and let's be honest, the monster movies we want to see is the Dark Universe stuff that they were gonna.
Yeah.
And done right, like Mummy and Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah, and all the Godzilla movies are they're pretty bad. So the best of the worst. Although they did. Okay, it's completely off topic. They did. Brady this morning talked about that they didn't have the two little twin Asian chicks in the box that actually converse with Mothra. That's like the best part
Oh my
of
God.
Mothra
That's
is
a
the two little
great
twin
pull, yeah.
Asian chicks in the box. I was like, oh my God, that was the best part.
That's
Anyway,
awesome. That's a
sorry.
good idea. All right. That's okay. We have to rewrite the whole movie. The impetus of this, I got it. Look, was with Bohemian Rhapsody and Rocket Man coming out and doing so well in the last 8 months of each other, and Rami Malek winning an Oscar for Freddie Mercury.
Yep.
If Taron Egerton isn't in the conversation, at least there's something wrong with the whole
Yep,
world.
the whole thing's fixed.
Taron sings all the songs. It's amazing. So that kind of was how we got started, how we got to this point, and then with conversations and stuff like that. I had two that popped in my head like right away, and then a third that came into my head later. And so I don't know how you're gonna do this. I don't know. You want to go first?
I guess I'll go first.
All right.
So
Again.
again for the second time. So I struggled to come up with any one specific person. I was coming up with more like genres or what created a genre, right? So like disco, not that was one of them, but
right.
Like how you got there, the EDM one that
I went that way a little bit too.
that what's his face?
Idris Elba did.
Idris Elba does.
It's a documentary more than
yeah. I think that would be cool. Some of the like the beginning of rock, that's kind of all been done out, right? Yeah, you struggle with the people that are still alive because they don't necessarily want everybody to know that they were in rehab 15 times and they're a horrible person. Like Elton did work on Rocket Man and was pretty forthcoming about the fact that he was in rehab. I mean, that's kind of the whole direction of the movie, but he got cleaned up after.
And he didn't have multiple relapses like other people had.
Right. And 15 baby mamas and, just a horrible person, whatever. So you struggle with people who are still alive. And then like the issue that you had with like Queen with Freddie Mercury or Nirvana,
Kurt
Cobain, that like the family or the band is still holding on to the memory or the information, and they don't. So like there's a couple Kurt Cobain movies out, and I think that would also be interesting. Although maybe the formation of grunge or kind of the whole scene, would be interesting because you could get.
That was actually one of mine that first came to my head was the whole Seattle grunge thing that happened, because it wasn't necessarily just Seattle. I mean, the base was Seattle, but there was a lot of other places that were kind of affected by that grunge movement.
Yeah.
Phoenix was one, LA was one, that kind of thing. And the idea of at one point in time in Seattle on a Friday night, you can go see Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Soundgarden, Temple of the Dog.
That was definitely one of the ones that I was thinking, not specifically focused on a band or a specific person in the bands, but the scene, how it happened. Maybe have some, almost like Quentin's doing with this Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's everything around the Charles Manson murders, but not necessarily the murders themselves. Kind of the same thing, like other story, but
almost a historical fiction.
Yeah.
And I one of the ideas I had for that was Nirvana first time on MTV being the climax of the movie. You have all these bands that were doing the work in Seattle or whatever.
Yeah.
And
the first one to make it big.
The first one to really kind of make it big.
Yeah.
Now, Soundgarden was kind of starting to hit it, but the world changed when Nevermind came out and Smells Like Teen Spirit hit MTV.
Yeah.
I remember watching Total Request Live, TRL, right? And that, like, we got this new song from this new band and from Seattle, and like watching that.
Yeah.
At that point,
and you're like, oh my God, What is this I'm watching?
Yeah, so that would have been kind of a cool climax of a movie, I think.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do the Seattle or the grunge kind of storyline.
Just for the record, I like Soundgarden better than Nirvana.
I like Pearl Jam.
You can at me.
I like Pearl Jam more than Nirvana. So 10's a perfect album.
That's true. 10 is a perfect album.
It's the perfect album.
Beginning to end.
We can have a whole musical conversation about that later. This is not Sight and Sound. Hey guys, how you doing? So anyway, so what was your?
So I mean, like I said, the beginning of the grunge movement, or taking what Idris Elba did with the EDM, that super interesting. And people think EDM is a thing that's happened in the last 5 years, not maybe the last 20 years, 25 years.
Yeah.
I mean, since like the end of disco was what led into the whole
The
EDM.
warehouse scene, the warehouse rave scene, and all the stuff that was going on in the UK, and then the same kind of movement was going on, but it was going on in Detroit around the urban stuff, and it was really before the hip hop sound had kind of flushed itself out.
Yeah.
And so it was all break beats and stuff like that, and so it was like this house as we know it, house music started in warehouses in Detroit, and then you had a very kind of different but very much the same kind of style in the UK, and it all kind of flooded into itself at the same time.
And if you think about what I mean, they don't anymore, but what an EDM DJ used to do, now they just fake it. They have turntables that aren't actual turntables. But they do most of the time, not the turntables. Most of them are just little cones. They don't actually do anything. But the pre-hip hop, they were scratching records, and the EDM DJs were mixing records, not scratching them, but mixing. Yeah. So yeah.
The first thing that came to my mind when I thought of this is, and it's a question that's come up in the past, and it's going to happen. It's not that it's not. This story is too good of a story not to happen, but it's the everything around rumors with Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, and that's another one where I think they're gonna have to be dead.
It's
because they still hate each other.
They still hate each other, and it's probably gonna be a while before we actually get to that point. But that story is just too awesome of a story, and just the backstabbing, and they're writing songs for each other's significant others, and just like everybody's sleeping with everybody, and the drummer. I want to say Neil Peart, and that's not it.
Chrissy McVie.
Animal.
Leslie. No.
Animal. Animal's based off of him. Anyways, him just like sitting back there and hitting the drums and like happy because he's playing music and has no idea what's going on around him.
Yeah.
And blissfully ignorant is kind of
is
kind of a good way of putting it. I just think that story arc and that story, there's so much that you could do with just that time period. You don't have to do all of Fleetwood Mac. I mean, you're gonna have to do some kind of setup or whatever of Fleetwood Mac, but everything that kind of goes on with them together writing that album.
Yeah.
And then the climax of the movie could be the fallout of that album. Oh, by the way, it's also sold 10 million copies, and they're on this 2-year world tour.
Yeah, and they all hate each other.
And so I just think that is a kind of a really cool story that eventually is going to have to get told.
Yeah.
That too many people know about it. I'm not a huge Fleetwood Mac fan. I have seen them in concert.
It was free.
It was free. It was a good show too.
It was.
But even I know that story, and so I'm not like steeped in the lore of the fantastical drink.
My sister had that album, Rumors, when it came out, and I listened to it over and over and over again. And then when she left, I bought it because I listened to the crap out of it.
I was just going to say, when Stevie Nicks left? No, your sister.
My sister.
Hi, how are you?
Well, Stevie Nicks did leave.
She did leave.
And then she came back.
And then she left again.
I think she's living here now. I think she's back.
I think she's living in Sedona, actually.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
I talked about the grunge movement, the whole thing that happened with grunge, and I like the EDM thing because I don't know if I'm ready for it, but a documentary at least, but I would really like to see a biopic of Avicii.
Yeah.
Because his story is very hard and self-imposed drama, self-imposed harm, and somebody who was widely loved all over the world for the music that he was making.
He's still got new songs coming out, and he's been dead for a year and a half.
Yeah, I was gonna say 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
And but his, we were listening to Tomorrowland's Top 1000 that they did, and Laid Back Luke was doing the last 100, and he did this 6-hour set of the top 100 songs that were voted on, and Avicii had 4 of the top 10.
Yeah.
And one of them was the one he did.
I think it was top 20. I think it was 4 of the top 20.
4 of the top 20.
Yeah.
But one of those songs was one that he had done with Laid Back Luke, and Luke was telling the stories about working with Avicii and doing all the things and how much they had talked like I know this is crazy, kids. They actually talked on their phones to each other like the week before Avicii died, and how they were like working on something, and I just think that would be kind of a really cool tragic story, but again a good we have the story of Freddie Mercury, who had a very rough upbringing, was self-destructive at times, and
I think Avicii might be hard just because Freddie Mercury and Elton John, everybody knows who they are.
Right.
Avicii's pretty niche, although you could do the story of him without it being him, right? You could.
I actually just have another idea pop in my head, but yeah, no, I think to do that story correctly, you need to have his music.
Yeah.
And so if you're to have his music, you need to have the story be about him. You'd have to say, here's random DJ Jazzy Jeff, not Jazzy Jeff, DJ Todd, whatever. And oh, by the way, all of his songs sound like Avicii. And I think that kind of cheapens what the story needs to be for Avicii and stuff like that. Yeah. I know that they tried to do it, but a biopic of Jimi Hendrix. Andre 3000 played Jimi Hendrix. The problem was that Andre was amazing as Jimi Hendrix, but the family wouldn't release the songs.
Yeah.
So none of the songs were in the Jimi Hendrix biopic. So then why are you even doing it?
Right.
And that's kind of why I was like.
And that's why Janis Joplin and the Mamas and the Papas and Jimi Hendrix and all the Beatles and the Who, and they've all been.
We're kind of getting a Beatles one here
done
in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it looks.
Yesterday.
It looks really cool. It's a Beatles. You're getting the Beatles compilation without
the band
doing
itself.
A Beatles story.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. I just thought of one too, and you're probably gonna roll your eyes, but Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
She has had an amazing she was married to Burt Reynolds. She's got a freaking amusement park. She was in the movies for a while.
Yeah.
She had her own show back in the 70s.
Yeah. When you said you're probably going to roll your eyes, the first one I thought of was Garth Brooks. Like Garth Brooks' story. But I don't think there's enough drama in the Garth Brooks story to actually have it. Like his story is amazing, but I don't know if it's drama enough or whatever.
Yeah, he seems like a pretty normal guy.
Normal, kind of down to earth or whatever.
Cher would be interesting.
Cher would be interesting.
Probably not until after she's dead.
But the problem with Cher is, what's the climax? Do you climax with her in her underwear on the battleship? Do you climax when her and Sonny divorce?
No.
Do you
after she dies and then just the story of her life?
Yeah.
She is married how many times? For
17.
her daughter, who was on the Sonny and Cher show as a cute little 5-year-old, is
Right.
now her son.
Yeah.
She has, her husband, her first husband was a senator. What the heck was he? Governor,
something.
mayor? I don't know what he was.
Yeah.
And then wrapped himself around a tree skiing. And he was married. She was married to one of the
Yeah.
70s.
She was very Liz Taylor when Liz Taylor was doing her stuff.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Well, and nobody
after.
like how old is she right now? Nobody.
She bathes in the blood of virgins. Like
She's got to be, if she was in her 20s in the 60s, right, when the Sonny and Cher show was out,
Right.
that makes her
In her 80s.
in her 70s. That was 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So that
70s. She's in her 70s or 80s
late
or whatever.
70s, yeah.
We could say that's why this topic is so much fun, because there's a whole, like, do you really want to do a Beethoven one? Like, Beethoven's story is pretty awesome, but that's not topical. I mean, it's very niche. I mean, they kind of did it with Amadeus. You know,
Yeah,
that kind
I
of
mean,
thing.
they could. They just did the Favorite and the.
It'd be a period piece.
Yeah,
and
you
stuff like
do a
that,
period
which is
piece.
cool. I mean, Beethoven is really awesome and stuff like that.
You're
They're
not going to
doing-
get kids to go see a Beethoven. Well,
Right.
I mean, the one about the dog, but.
That's why like Fleetwood Mac is really for our age group. But somebody like Avicii, you're gonna get the younger crowd, and then you're gonna get that movie crowd who just goes and sees everything because it's a biopic or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know how much of the younger crowd would go. I don't know, go see something like that, or they're more into, the Avengers and.
I guess it just depends on how they do it. My issue with some of the EDM stuff that they've done in the past is it's very difficult to make the event of a rave, of a festival, of a concert. It's very difficult to make that feel translate to the screen when the rest of the crowd isn't in on it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so,
Although, I mean, we went and saw the Swedish House Mafia, the final.
their little documentary.
Yeah, they did a
thing,
documentary,
yeah.
and I mean, it's
one last time.
Yeah, and it was the last tour. It was about a year, and then it finaled at Ultra when they broke up, and it was. It was awkward because they were fighting and,
Yeah.
and happy because when they first went on tour, they're all happy to be together. And then halfway through the tour, they're fighting. And then by the time they get to Ultra, they've broken up. And we went and saw that at the Film Bar, and we were like,
Yeah, but it was a super small release.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
for a
Yeah.
movie, like overall. It wasn't
Yeah.
like in 2,000 theaters or whatever. It was.
Yeah,
in,
that's why I think that it's got to be something like the grunge scene would probably get enough people because you've got the whole cross age.
They did do a really good grunge adjacent grunge music, and that scene was the background of a rom-com called Singles.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm like in my head, I'm like, we'll just go write it right now and just go. But they already kind of did that with Singles. It would be kind of interesting to kind of go back and revisit that time period in Seattle and see,
They
there's
could-
been some really good documentaries about it and stuff like that.
I know I joked, but they could totally do disco because they've got the whole Club 64 and the
Club
is
54.
54 and all the
78. 33.
anyway, and all the, I mean, a lot of groups, a lot of people, a lot of just famous people,
Warhol doing his stuff in the back room
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just
And-
all this stuff going
yeah.
on there.
Oh, I think they did
They've done it a couple different times.
a Club
but
54 one, but I mean, not specifically to that, just kind of the more of the whole feel, Saturday Night Fever, and just that whole.
I think
time.
that one would be really interesting to do because you're talking about a specific CBGB's kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like a specific location, and you're telling the story of that location more
Yeah,
than you
but
are
they've
of.
done that. They've done that a couple of times, I
Right,
think,
right.
with those specific locations. More of a, I don't know, just, Diana Ross.
Right. That's why this subject, I'm sure we'll get done and we'll go sit in the bedroom while I'm editing and we'll think of like 6 more. What if they did this? And what if they did this? I mean, like we don't do country, but there's Travis Tritt's storyline and Reba McEntire's storyline.
Yeah, Reba would be good because she's been around for a long time
and
had a lot of experiences.
the Tim McGraw and what's his wife's name?
Yeah.
The
Blonde.
Yeah, them, like their whole story and that whole process.
I think the big thing is it just has to be good.
Right.
Don't just make it to make it and don't make it because, I mean.
That's what they did with the Jimi Hendrix one was they just kind of made it that we can do it. And then.
The several Kurt Cobain ones have just been horrible. So make it good and it'll be good.
Yeah. And she shot him. That is our thoughts this week on what musical biopic we like to see, and then we did some news and notes. I'm actually kind of looking forward to Django and Zorro teaming up. I need to check that
with
out.
Pedro Pascal.
With Pedro Pascal.
You've heard it here first.
We're going with that until somebody tells us differently. So what do you guys think of this week's episode? Let us know. Like this video or like this podcast feed. Subscribe to both because every click helps. You can also help us out on Patreon. We talked about this earlier. Help us for $1 a month. We're working for our goal. We get to 25 patrons. We will be doing a drink along holiday special of this Star Wars. Whose idea was this? And then we're also on all the social media stuff. All it's in the description down below for use on the YouTube. We're down here. Down there. We're doing a lot of stuff there, and we will be at Amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con, not this weekend, but the following weekend. We'll probably be talking about it more next week, and we'll be doing some come find us scavenger hunt kind of thing.
Yeah.
So just to keep that in your head. So until next time, cult members, thank you for watching and listening. Good night now.